This is Pat Robertson on the right here. Most people probably know him. He actually died not too long ago. He helped popularize televangelism in large part. Now, he is what one might call an apocalypticist, okay? Somebody who believes that the apocalypse is coming any 5 minutes now. Another group that seems to believe this is Jehovah's Witnesses, my alma mater, if you will. I grew up Jehovah's Witness and left the religion when I was entirely too young to be kicked out of my house for it. Anyways, I was kicked out anyways. So I wanted to talk about Jehovah's Witnesses' views on apocalypticism and Pat Robertson's view on it and everything else, because there's a war in Israel that honestly has been raging for 70 plus years at this point. And I want to talk about apocalypticists' view on what's going on right now. Particularly, I want to talk about the actual scholarship of what the Bible says about this stuff. Why people believe that the war is going to happen in Israel that's going to spark Armageddon and all of that other stuff. And we'll hit whether or not that's actually a realistic fear. So first, let's talk about what the word Armageddon means. Armageddon literally translates to the name of a specific field that was right outside of Israel, I believe, where a lot of big battles took place. So it's the site of actual battles. It would be like saying Gettysburg. Gettysburg was the site of a major battle during the Civil War, I believe. So saying Armageddon is like saying Gettysburg. The Bible has a specific genre of writing called apocalyptic writing. It's a genre that did not exist, or that does not exist today. It did exist back then, and you can see the apocalyptic genre coming through in the book of Revelation and some in the book of Daniel, the book of Isaiah, and some other places. When you see apocalyptic writing, that writing makes it feel as though the end is coming any 5 seconds, like the end of the world. That was the point of the genre. That's why Armageddon is mentioned all through it, because this big battle is going to take place between two dual forces, good and evil, and good will win out at the end of the day, and all of God's people will be saved, blah, blah, blah. Apocalyptic writing has led to people believing things like what Pat Robertson had to say here in 1980.
Why is Israel so important? I mean, what is it about this little bitty country that sits right down in the middle of, like, you know, you can't hardly find it. They can't even put the name on it to put out in the ocean. What makes it so important?
Nothing. Nothing makes it important. It's just the focus. It's just the birthplace of a bunch of Western religions. Quick interjection, this won't take long. I just want to say, if you want to support my channel, the best way you can do it is by watching this video to the end, or at least watching a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. YouTube's recommendation algorithm works off of watch time. You can also subscribe to the channel, like the video, and check out my Patreon. Link is in the description for that. All right, back to the video.
Now, God has called this in the Bible the navel of the earth. Now, a navel is sort of like the place where a child is attached to its mother, and God used this as the...
Okay, I don't remember God calling it the navel of the earth, but you know what? Whatever. Maybe he did. Go on.
place where he entered into human history. And that's why all the world, the United Nations and the nations of the earth, one day are going to come and move against Israel. In I'd give it 1982, but date setting is dangerous. I'd say within the next couple of years, we're going to see a war there. The next major war to be fought in the world is going to be right here.
Why?
And was it? Of course not. He was completely full of it. The Cold War was raging at this time, and the United States absolutely hated Russia and vice versa, or the USSR. It was the USSR at the time. I mean, this is not the only example of apocalypticism in Christianity, but the apocalyptic genre of writing was never intended to describe the end of the world. It was designed to convey a specific meaning, but not actually literally take place. So in the book of Daniel, for example, the book of Daniel is like when apocalyptic writing first came into its prime. I mean, there were examples of apocalypticism as a genre coming out before the book of Daniel, but it's like the quintessential example. It is when it came into its prime as a genre. And in the book of Daniel, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there's all this talk of a little horn which arises from the four horns, and it grows in power in the south and to the east and toward the beautiful land. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses have this bizarre idea of what that meant, and they apply it to the future, and they believe that it's a sign that blah, 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 whatever, this is going to happen, and it's happening now. In reality, the little horn that comes out of the other four and all that other junk, the book of Daniel was actually talking about Antiochus, which was a king of the Greek Empire. After the Greek Empire split into four, Alexander the Great conquered the entire area. After Alexander the Great died, his four generals took over it and split the empire into four sections. The Jewish region, Judea and whatever, was controlled by the Seleucid Empire, one of Alexander the Great's four empires that split up. And the king of the Jewish area was named Antiochus. He was the one that was controlling everything and persecuting Christians. So the book of Daniel was written around the time of Antiochus, and this apocalyptic writing that Daniel talked about was specifically referring to Antiochus, the king of the little area that they lived in, and how he was persecuting Christians and everything else. I'm sorry, not Christians, persecuting Jewish people. There was no Christianity yet. So anyways, that's what the little horn which arises from the four horns, blah, 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 grows in power to the south and the east towards a beautiful land. It was talking about contemporary events that were taking place in that moment. Now, in the book of Daniel, I'm harping on this specific verse because it's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. In the book of Daniel, it says God will crush the little horn that speaks vile things about God's people or whatever it is, and then the little horn will return, and then he will be killed again one final time, or something to that effect. That refers to the fact that that king, Antiochus, speaking vile things about God's people, was deeply hateful and violent toward, the Jews, or that's how they perceived it at the time. And Antiochus actually died, but there were rumors around that time that Antiochus was actually back. People kept claiming the dude was he actually escaped to a neighboring area. He wasn't actually killed, and he was going to come back, and he's going to take his kingship or whatever. And there were actually a number of imposters who claimed to be Antiochus who returned, who was not actually killed. It was completely made up, all of it. That's what the book of Daniel was talking about. The apocalyptic genre is designed to tell a true story in a false way with more fantastical settings, more in a story way than a literal way, but it's designed to convey a truth. Just like the book of Revelation talks about the number of the beast being 666, and some translations have the number as 616. That was talking about Emperor Nero, actually. It was talking about Nero. We have absolutely no doubt about this at this point. Jehovah's Witnesses have bent over backwards, among others, not just Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses have written all kinds of stuff about the end times, about Armageddon. They've interpreted the book of Daniel, the book of Isaiah, and all that apocalyptic text to have modern-day meanings incorrectly. It was never about modern-day stuff. So I wanted to just kind of read through some of their explanations of this stuff because Jehovah's Witnesses have thoughts on Israel and its relevance today. This article is titled, "Will Armageddon Begin in Israel? What does the Bible say?" This is on jw.org. Naturally, it's going to be complete garbage, but let's just take a look at their ridiculous interpretation of it. The Bible describes Armageddon not as a regional conflict, but as a global war fought between all human governments and God. Now, it was a regional conflict. Okay, Jesus' kingdom that he believed that was going to be set up and all of that stuff. Now, I'm giving you a scholarly interpretation. This is what the scholars have to say on the subject. The belief pre-Jesus was that God was going to set up a kingdom, like a kingdom, and appoint somebody a king over Israel, the area. It wasn't like God's kingdom will come and everybody will blah, blah, blah. It was like there's actually going to be a kingdom there again. Like there was a kingdom there under King David who controlled the entire area. It crumbled because they were disloyal to God or whatever. And God is going to reestablish the kingdom. And the battle that was going to be waged to set this kingdom up was going to take place in Armageddon. That's the word for the area, the fields there. That's what it meant. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses cobbled together this ridiculous, bizarre interpretation of apocalyptic genre writing that completely misrepresents everything that the Bible said about this subject. For example, Jesus never said, you have to believe in him to be saved. You know what he said? He said he was going to be appointed king of the kingdom when God gave Israel back to the Jews. And all you had to do was be a good person, and he would reward you for that. That was the claim. Now, nobody actually expected Jesus to die. That didn't make any sense at all. Even Jesus didn't understand what was happening. On the cross, when he was dying, he said, my God, why have you forsaken me? So even he didn't understand. But you know what? If you're a Christian, you have no reason to believe in original sin. You have no reason to believe in atonement or Jesus being the Savior or dying for your sins or any of that. Jesus said, be a good person. He will reward you for that. That is it. Later on, Paul and other people came along and morphed that and added to it and changed it and made it into something that it was not. Anyway, let's keep reading. So the Bible describes Armageddon not as a regional conflict, but as a global war fought between all human governments and God. Incorrect. This is from Revelation 16. Expressions inspired by demons, ... You see that ellipsis there? Jehovah's Witnesses love inserting ... That means there's a whole sentence there that they removed and pieced the rest of it together like puzzle pieces. They removed this whole segment. I have no clue what's even there. Expressions inspired by demons, ... Go out to the kings of the entire inhabited earth to gather them together to the war of the great day of God the Almighty. They gathered them together to the place that is called in Hebrew Armageddon. Right, they were talking about a location called Armageddon. That was the name of a field. The word Armageddon comes from the Hebrew word Har-Magedon or something, meaning mountain of Megiddo. Don't trust anything you read from this, okay? Don't trust Jehovah's Witnesses at all. Megiddo was a city in the territory of ancient Israel. For that reason, some people believe that Armageddon will be fought in Israel. Yeah, it's supposed to set up Israel as a kingdom, of course. And the battle's going to take place there. It also says the guy that's going to be the king is going to ride into town on an ass. And sorry, I don't see that happening today. For that reason, some people believe that Armageddon will be fought in Israel. However, neither the region of Megiddo nor any other area in the Middle East is big enough to hold the kings of the entire inhabited earth and their armies. Oh my God, dude. You're seeing how ridiculous this is, right? At the time when this was written, it was talking about a literal battle that was going to take place with kings in the area. And Jehovah's Witnesses are like, well, how can we apply this to real life, to right now, today? How can we interpret this in such a way that the writer, John of Patmos, believed that this stuff is going to happen in the year 2023? That's what Jehovah's Witnesses did with this. The book of Revelation was written in signs or in symbolic language. Revelation 1:1. Armageddon refers not to literal location, but to the worldwide situation in which the nations assemble in their last stand against rule by God. Okay, I don't remember the Bible saying that. This is all just complete nonsense. The Bible assures us that God will not allow the earth to be destroyed. Like I said, there's a bunch of apocalyptic writing in the Bible that honestly probably doesn't even belong in there. For history's sake, maybe. Daniel could stay. The book of Revelation doesn't belong in the Bible. It was a letter designed to convey a meaning for the Christian congregation in that specific area at that specific time. The book of Revelation, what does it mean? This is another article by Jehovah's Witnesses. The Greek name of the Bible book of Revelation, apocalypsis, that's true. It's apocalypse is the Greek form of Revelation. Revelation is the Latin form. The Greek form is apocalypsis, means uncovering or disclosure. Actually, it means to reveal or uncover. This name indicates the meaning of Revelation. It uncovers matters that had been hidden and discloses events that would happen long after it was written. No! Are you kidding me? Many of its prophecies are yet to be fulfilled. No. 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 Where did you get all of this stuff? Look, right here. It uncovers matters that had been hidden and discloses events that would happen long after it was written. Where'd they get that from? How'd they come to that conclusion? What made them think that this stuff was going to happen in the future, 2,000 years, instead of what was happening in that moment, in that day? This is absurd. Okay, so Jehovah's Witnesses in this article on the book of Revelation, they start kind of going through some of the weird stuff you find in the book of Revelation, right? And if you notice here, 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 bowls, so on and so forth. You'll notice 7 is all through this stuff, right? It's all through the book of Revelation. Why? I'll tell you why. This is the scholarly understanding I'm about to give you, and if you want to read more about it, you can check out Bart Ehrman. He talks about it in his book, Armageddon, I think is what it's called. It's on Audible if you want to give it a listen. Originally, the city of Romulus was built upon 7 hills. Capitoline, Quirinal, Viminal, Esquiline, Celian. I'm not sure what the names are exactly or how to pronounce them, but it was built on 7 hills. It was a city on 7 hills. And the Roman Empire controlled the area at the time Revelation was written. All these references to 7 represent the Roman Empire and the churches in each of the areas. It was never intended to be interpreted in a modern day context. It makes no sense at all. There is an explanation for every single one of these things. Okay, so Jehovah's Witnesses have keys to understanding the book of Revelation, as if they understand any of this. Its meaning is positive, not fearful or terrifying to those who serve God. Actually, it's pretty benign. It was just talking about being persecuted by Emperor Nero at the time, the Roman emperor. While many associate the word apocalypse with great disaster, it's probably because of the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation begins and ends by saying that those who read, understand, and apply its message would be happy for doing so. Revelation uses many signs or symbols that are not to be understood literally. Really? Knock me over with a feather. You say they're not supposed to be understood literally? I love it how Jehovah's Witnesses pick and choose which things they want to take literally and which they do not. There's no rhyme or reason to what they take literally. You know what made them pick and choose which things from the book of Revelation or Daniel to take literally? It was the governing body making that decision arbitrarily. Yeah, I like that interpretation and that interpretation. And you know how I know that's correct? Because God told me. I speak to him. You can't speak to him. I speak to him. See, I'm not joking. That's how they came to these conclusions. Many major entities and symbols in the book of Revelation are introduced earlier in the Bible. Jehovah is not God's name, but okay. Jehovah, the true God in heavens and creator of all things. Jesus, the Lamb of God. Satan the devil, God's adversary. Babylon the Great, like ancient Babylon, an enemy of Jehovah God and his people and a source of religious lies. The sea, wicked mankind opposed to God. So basically, anything that Jehovah's Witnesses say applies to modern day is a completely bastardized interpretation. In the book of Revelation, if you're from a Christian background, you may remember a beast coming out of the sea, I think maybe, that had 7 heads and 10 horns, and on its back, Babylon the Great was drinking the blood of the saints or the blood of the innocents. 10 is a number that's used to represent a set of something. It's not supposed to be a specific number. It's just a set of things. I'm just reading from Bart Ehrman's blog on this subject. Who or what in the world is the whore of Babylon sitting on the back of the beast? The prophet himself cannot figure it out, but the angel explains to him by assuring him This calls for a mind that has wisdom. He first indicates that the beast on which the woman is seated is destined to ascend from the bottomless pit. Looking ahead, the reader knows that in 22, like in chapter 20, verse 2, it's Satan who is bound for this pit. Moreover, there he is called the dragon, the serpent of old. The woman is supported then by the devil himself. But who is the woman? A future antichrist? One of the violently anti-Christian countries on earth of our day? Russia, China, the ultimate religious enemy of true believers? The Catholic Church, Islam? Nope. The angel goes on to explain that the 7 heads of the beast are actually 7 mountains on which the woman is seated, which is Rome, the city of 7 hills. Anyone living in the ancient world would by now have no trouble figuring out who she is. For those who do not understand the clue, the angel provides the final answer. The woman you saw in the great city that rules over the kings of the earth. Who's the city ruling the world of John's day? Rome, famous even in antiquity for being the city built on 7 hills. The beast with 7 heads. Why is she called Babylon? That was the city that in 586 BCE destroyed Jerusalem and burned the temple under the direction of the Babylonian ruler Nebuchadnezzar. Now, 6 centuries later, it's Rome who's destroyed Jerusalem and burned its second temple under the Roman Emperor Vespasian in 70 CE. This is the city that ruled This is the city ruled ultimately by Satan, the enemy of God. The city responsible for both the economic exploitation of the earth, hence her luxurious attire and many jewels, and the persecution of Christians. She is drunk with the blood of the martyrs. Thus, for the author of Revelation, the enemy of God is the Roman Empire and its rulers. It is not some wicked woman bound to appear soon in the 21st century, or a wicked country or religious group among us now already. The point is, Jehovah's Witnesses have no clue what they're talking about. None. As a matter of fact, Jesus believed it was going to happen in his lifetime. This battle in the fields outside of Israel. It's going to happen in his lifetime. Israel is going to be given to the Jews again, fully, and they're going to be in complete control of it. And Jesus was going to be appointed its king, its political leader. Now, again, that made no sense if Jesus died. So what happened? I'm trying to dispel all apocalyptic end times garbage right now. From Jehovah's Witnesses, from apocalypticists like Jim Baker and Pat Robertson and Jehovah's Witnesses and everybody. Okay, this is all complete nonsense. So what happened when Jesus died? His followers didn't understand. They're like, he'll be back. He'll be back. Just wait and see. He's coming back. It made absolutely no sense that this took place. And in response, Paul, the Apostle Paul, the guy that never actually met Jesus, didn't know anything about what Jesus actually said, because he didn't have a copy of Gospels or whatever. All he had was the posthumously self-appointed title of apostle and Christian culture to work off of. The Apostle Paul said, after Jesus died, just wait and see what happens. People were getting antsy. They were like, Jesus said this is going to happen in our lifetime, and some of our people are dying off. What's going on? And in response, Paul said, those people that have died, they'll have a special role. Just wait and see. They're going to be resurrected, and they're going to meet Jesus in the sky halfway and escort him back to earth when he becomes the king. That's the special role they'll have because they died. That's what Paul said. That's the source of the rapture. That's the verse that establishes the apocalyptic belief that the rapture is going to take place. It's a complete bastardization of what the Bible said. I get nothing but ridiculous end times prophecies after apocalypse from the far right. Okay, this stuff is not interpreted the way that it was intended to be interpreted by any group. And every single religion out there thinks they have the right interpretation of these apocalyptic writings, discounting the possibility that apocalyptic writing was just a genre that existed back then and wasn't intended to prophesy anything. Just kills me, man. And that's how you get people like grifting off of this, because it creates real fear in people. They're like obsessed with the possibility that like the apocalypse is like right around the corner. One final set of clips I want to show you. This is Jim Bakker, who has never passed up an opportunity to take advantage of gullible suckers willing to give him their money. This clip is from mid-June 2019. Give this a listen.
Everybody, basically everybody except 3 people that I know of said that Donald Trump could not be elected. They said all the...
Okay, I don't know what his people were saying or whatever. There was a perfectly valid chance that Trump had in 2016. All the polls said that it was a pretty even split, so...
They said all the polls say he will not be elected. How come he was elected? Because God's people voted.
That's right.
And the world knows it.
That's right.
The enemies of the gospel know it. And I want to tell you what. I'm going to say something I probably shouldn't say, but I'm going to say it anyhow.
Lay it on me, Jim.
Oh, boy.
Because what's coming next, if we keep losing, you're going to see the leaders of the church and the leaders of the gospel and the political conservative leaders that are powerful, you're going to see them suddenly die.
I bet. Suddenly die.
Suddenly killed. Suddenly as they were driving. Suddenly as they were in a boat.
This is such a joke, dude. This is more apocalyptic, fear-mongering nonsense. Jim Bakker and people like him, televangelists, love fear-mongering and twisting the book of Revelation out of proportion to suit their own ends. What's Jim Bakker get out of this? Well, he gets a more fervent fan base, and he gets to sell his bonus buckets because he believes that when Jesus is on his way back, he's going to have to endure 7 years of tribulation, of apocalyptic fighting between Jesus and Satan. Complete misrepresentation, misunderstanding, and bastardization of what the verses actually said and the context around them. Like, he has no idea what he's talking about, but he uses it to sell bonus buckets. Buckets of food that stay good for 7 years or something to get you through the apocalypse. No joke.
Dear God. Okay, the soup comes in 6 gallons of this. It weighs almost 50 pounds.
And it's absolutely disgusting.
I know you don't want to hear this, but I want to tell you, you're going to dream Jim Bakker on TV telling you, get ready. And you're saying, oh my God, why didn't I order something? I'm going to eat some more of this if you're not careful. Oh.
This is disgusting, dude. He's got soup in gigantic buckets. Seriously.
Oh, good.
It is not good. You can tell it. He's struggling right now. He is on a struggle bus hard.
Oh, my God.
He's coughing and everything.
You didn't have lunch, right?
Can't even get a word out.
Wow.
This food is so good. It passes the official Mexican test. This is Mexican food that real live Mexicans approve of.
Real live Mexicans approve of this. Wow.
You know, this is not gringo food. This is good food, and it is unbelievable. Yeah. One of the things we've done around here, we stick them under coffee tables and end tables.
This is so sad, dude.
You just stack them up and then put a cloth over them.
Yeah.
Or get a piece of, cardboard or a piece of plywood, and you make a top, and then you just stack this food. You could have your whole living room with end tables and coffee tables.
Yeah, heck it. Why not? Why don't you create an entertainment center out of them? Pull a little hole out, Put a piece of plywood across the top and stack more buckets. Put your TV in there. Why not, right?
Made out of food buckets. Just do it.
Yeah.
This power goes out.
This is a joke, dude. So anyway, that's what this whole apocalypticism thing has led to. People taking advantage of others who are scared out of their minds. Seriously. And all because of a complete misinterpretation, misunderstanding of what's going on. One more clip I want to show you. This is something a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are probably familiar with, this type of deal. It's called an Armageddon drill. People were convinced Armageddon was coming any 5 minutes, and you were expected to have a go bag ready to go with your passports or your IDs or cash or whatever, your medicine, whatever you need. You kick the wall open or you go in your closet and grab it and you get out, just in case Armageddon starts. Kids used to have Armageddon drills all the time. I don't think I had Armageddon drills when I was little specifically, but here's one that's taking place at a Kingdom Hall. This is from 2015.
Okay, first things first, guys. Are you okay? Everybody's okay. No injuries? Okay. I need everybody to try to stay calm. Let's remember our family drills. That was a really big earthquake.
Our family drills.
And more than likely, we're going to have some pretty severe aftershocks. So right now, what we need to do is I need to go turn off the gas to the house. I need everybody to go get their go bags.
Go bags. Catch that? And earthquake. He mentioned earthquakes because those are one of the signs of the end or whatever. Completely discounting the fact that earthquakes happen constantly. Like there's always an earthquake happening somewhere in the world. Almost always.
Can you grab mine too? Great. Let's go grab those. Let's go get that done and let's meet back here.
Dan, the power's out. The light switch isn't even working. I'm trying to get a hold of Daddy, but I can't get a hold of him. You know what? We haven't had an emergency drill since we lived at the last house and we were in a different service group. I don't even know where to meet. Oh, the line's busy. Why is it so busy? Okay, he texted me. He said, get our go bags ready just in case we need them. That his car's blocked in and he has to walk home. He doesn't know how long it'll be. Okay, we're okay too. I don't know where the go bags are. Do you know where they are? Do you know where the go bags are?
This is just absurd.
Mine might be in my closet. I gotta go dig for it. Okay, I'll look for mine too.
Oh, and I guess they've got like a whole bunch of bags. Wow, you think you're going somewhere with all that stuff? In Armageddon? Really? Like a demon isn't going to steal that right off your back?
Okay, nice job. All right, now we need to text Rusty, let him know where we are, how we're doing. And that.
See, in the background, you can tell there's a woman throwing blankets and clothes looking for... This is just ridiculous, dude.
And that we're all safe.
You know, during the quake, my phone broke and it had all of my numbers in it.
You know,
that's why you're expected to have a little book with all of your relevant numbers, because electricity could be out, the phone service could be out, everything could be out when the time comes. Like, seriously, this is what this apocalyptic interpretation leads to. The book of Daniel, the book of Isaiah, the book of Revelation, these apocalyptic genre writings were intended for that time. They were intended to convey a message for the people that lived in that era. That's why it doesn't make sense to us, because we're missing the necessary context clues that the people of that time had in the culture. Pull it together, Jehovah's Witnesses and Jim Baker. It's just disgusting, man. Let me know what you think about it in the comments.